Hi, happy Friday. So you watch the TV, you like the TV, or maybe you don't have a television, but if you don't, you're pretty unusual. I spend hours of time when I'm working with clients talking with them about their TV and designing space around their TV. So I'm going to talk with you today about different things to look out for when you're making your space work for your television and how you want to use it. And then maybe some ways if you would like to watch less television, which a lot of people I talk to would like to make television less prominent in their lives, and some tips of how you can do that. So first of all, the most important thing the main reason that I'm talking about television with clients, and that is when we are rearranging, reconfiguring their spaces. And so maybe we've got a completely new space, or maybe we're changing the shape or the size of an existing space. And then we are looking at where is that television going to go and where are you going to be sitting when you're watching it. And so that layout, that spatial arrangement is really where I tend to come in, and that's why I'm talking about television with my clients. And so the first thing you want to make sure you have got is a view of the television from the place that you want to be when you're watching it. That seems straightforward, but there are so many rooms where you see a television and the actual seats where people are sitting, they're kind of having to sit like this to be able to get a view, or having to lean forwards to get their head, past it. So you want to be able to sit really comfortably in your chair, unless you're standing, in which case, maybe you can move around a bit if you want to stand, but most people tend to be sitting down and watching television. And if you are sitting down to watch the television, you want to make sure that that chair has a really good view of the screen, so that you don't have to sit in a really awkward position to be able to watch it and to be able to enjoy it. And then you also need to make sure that there are enough spaces for enough chairs for the number of people who are likely to be sitting with you on a typical occasion. So whether that's all the members of your family, whether you have some sort of a movie night club with a group of friends and you want all of them to be able to come round on a monthly or a weekly or whatever basis, so that you can all sit down and watch a film together and then critique it afterwards over a glass of wine or whatever it is. Or maybe you enjoy watching sport and you want to get some friends over and you sit and you watch it together. However you enjoy watching the television, and whoever you're watching it with, you want everybody who's going to be sitting down watching television with you to have a good view of the screen. So the location of the television in the room and the location of the seating in the room needs to make that possible, where you can comfortably sit and see the screen. The other thing is how you want to move around that space. So you want there to be enough room to comfortably move around. Now maybe if you have a movie night with a big group of friends once a month, maybe it's not a problem if you're kind of having to step over people and juggle around. It's a bit more tricky to get in and out on that one instance if it's not a frequent occurrence. But if you have a movie night with all your friends every week, then perhaps you want to be able to really easily get out, go to the kitchen, grab some popcorn, grab a couple of beers or a bottle of wine, or make pots of tea, whatever it is, whatever refreshments you may want to have. You maybe want to be able to get in and out really easily and safely. You don't want to be spilling hot cups of tea on your friends and having to drive them over to A&E with hot water burns. So make sure that there is enough space to move around most of the time. And if you are going to be sitting there and eating and drinking whilst you're watching the television, then you want to be able to make sure that you've got enough table space that is within comfortable reaching distance of all of the chairs, so that everybody has got somewhere they could easily put down a cuppa or a glass of wine or something, and maybe have a bowl of nuts or whatever it is, whatever snack you're having alongside your television viewing. So having the space to be able to have those extra side tables, coffee tables or whatever, alongside your seating, alongside being able to move around comfortably and safely, and to everybody have a really good view of the screen. Those are the things that you need to take into account and think about and plan in when you're looking at the room layout. Then, in addition, when you're thinking about where to place the television itself, you want to be avoiding any glare. And I am not a lighting designer, but what I focus mainly on natural light. So where are your natural light sources, which is usually either a window, normally a window. Sometimes you might be getting light through from another space nearby, which we call borrowed light. But that's not so common. Normally you're thinking about a window, and then when you're thinking about a window, you're thinking about what orientation, so which direction does that window look out onto. So if it's facing north, you're unlikely to be getting any sunshine. Maybe in Australia you get sunshine from the north, but in the UK, which is where I am based, you're not likely to be getting any sunshine coming in through a window that faces north. And so you don't need to worry so much about glare on your television, unless there is something outside that is very reflectant. So for example, maybe you have opposite you a building with a lot of glass, and it reflects sunshine back at you because it will be facing south, the sun will be shining on it, and it can easily reflect that back into your space, so you can actually get glare from that. So thinking about where you position your television in relation to a light source, usually a window, and preventing the glare from that is also important. Usually if it's just slightly angled, slightly away from that window is where you're most likely to avoid getting any glare problems. Like I said, I'm not a lighting designer, but as far as I understand, it is best to have some low level of ambient light if you are watching television to avoid eye strain. Correct me if I'm wrong if you know a lot about eye strain, optics, and electric lighting and designing for lighting. I'm more than open to hearing your much far greater knowledge on this. But that's my understanding, is that it's best to have some low level of lighting at the same time as the light from your screen, certainly if you're viewing in the evening when you don't have any daylight. You also need to think about electric sources. So usually, I don't know of any televisions that you don't have plugged in. They don't usually come battery operated or sort of clockwork operated. So normally you need to have your television plugged in, and often a television will come along with all sorts of other things. Maybe you like to play games, maybe you've got a Wii, or maybe you've got PlayStation. Maybe you like to watch a lot of films, and so you've got some way of watching DVDs, or at least putting something in with a USB, or perhaps plugging your laptop into it. Maybe you've got a television box which helps take in Netflix or whatever it is that you watch. But likelihood is it's not just the television. There are also some additional things that you have that also need to be plugged in, and you may want to have that all a little bit hidden, in which case you're probably going to have sockets behind furniture that are not so easy to get at. And if that's the case, then I would always recommend that you get if you're doing your electrics from scratch and this is a new installation of electrics, then get an override switch or a couple of override switches also fitted where the switch is really easy to access, so that you can just, once you've turned your television off, you can actually fully turn it off at the socket, so that you're making sure that you are minimizing your energy use, which is a really good way of doing your little bit to protect the planet. So another thing that you, in terms of electrics, that you probably want to make sure you've got are some sockets nearby where you're sitting. You maybe want to have some lamps, but also you might want to be able to plug in your mobile to recharge it, especially if you're tweeting along while you're watching, I don't know, Love Island or something. Or you've got your laptop and you're answering work emails at the same time as watching, you know, the Wimbledon finals. So having somewhere that you can plug those things in whilst you're watching the television is, for most people, something that you maybe need or would certainly be desirable. Then thinking about aesthetics. So big black square that is usually a TV screen when it's off doesn't really look that great. And so there are a few different things that you can do to kind of disguise it and make it look better. And so you can hide it behind a picture or a mirror where these kind of flip open or slide out the way. Or you can have it in a cupboard where you've got cupboard doors that you open and close down. You can also put them on a kind of a bracket so that the whole television might come out of a little nook and swing around and into a more visible position. I'm not sure what's going on, but it looks really fuzzy. I hope you can see me okay. And then another thing you can do is you use sort of darker coloured paint or a wallpaper or something behind the screen, so that it's the whole decor of the space has a darker look, and so in contrast, there isn't a huge contrast between this black screen and the backdrop behind it. It's all of a similar sort of tone and depth of colour. Finally, it's when you're thinking about your television usage and designing your home, the way that I approach designing a home is I see redesigning your home is a sort of an opportunity for you to reconsider your lifestyle and design your life, and so that you can transform your life to be really what you'd ideally want it to be. So how you'd love to live your best life, imagining that, and then designing your home to help support you make that transformation so that you can live a better quality of life. But in the first instance, you watch the television in the way that you watch it. And so there's no point making it really, really awkward or difficult for you to watch the television as you do, because that's what you do. And there's no point being unrealistic about it, because it's just then not going to work for you and your lifestyle. Now, if you are thinking, actually, I don't want to watch television as much as I do, I would like to actually spend my evenings doing some sort of craft or reading, chatting with my husband, having a crazy disco dancing with the kids, or whatever it might be, then what you could do is you could put steps in place to make it a little bit more difficult to use the television, so that you don't just automatically fall into that habit and it becomes one step more difficult to do. So it takes that bit more energy to do it, so you're then a little bit less likely to do that, and then you'll change your habit. So you're not automatically just sitting down, grabbing the remote, switching it on, and it's all done. So things that you can do is to turn off the television at the wall so that it's not always on standby. It's that extra step to turn it on. You can hide it a bit more. So if you've got it inside a cupboard and you have to then go and open the doors to be able to watch the television, that's that extra step that you have to take before you can watch it. It's not a difficult step to take. You can still do it, but it's just that it makes you be a little bit more intentional about your watching, because you have to make that extra effort to be able to do it. You can also put your remotes out of easy grabbing arm distance length, so you can put them in a drawer somewhere, so that again you have to go and make the effort to go and get them out of the drawer. But those sort of small simple things that you can do regardless of the room layout, so you can still have the room laid out so that you can enjoy watching the television when you do watch it, but if you want to change your habit and watch it less, then you can just make those small tweaks of just putting a few extra steps and having to make a little bit more effort. And each time you have to make a little bit more effort to do that thing that is your sort of normal habit, then that will sort of make you think again, make you think twice about whether it is something that you actually do really want to do, or maybe actually what you'd rather do is go and finish off some knitting. I don't know, whatever craft you have. Let me know what you would rather be doing with your evenings after work instead of watching television. So I hope that this has been interesting or useful for you. If you've got any comments or any questions about designing around the television, leave them in the comments below. If you have got any, if there are any things that you would much rather be spending your evening doing than watching television, but you also would need to have the space made in a different way to allow you to be able to do that, then let me know that below as well. I'd be interested to know. And if you know anything about ambient lighting and eye strain, you're a budding lighting designer or an experienced lighting designer, you've got some information to share on that, also please comment below. Thanks very much. I'll see you next week. Bye.